measured out at 6'1". Kyler's going to measure out at just under 5'10", I believe, or right at 5'10". So
you said he's trying to grow his hair out, though.
Well, I've seen it. I saw him pictured next to you at the Super Bowl, and I was like, you know what? If you count the hair, he's at least 6'1", but I don't think that counts. I think they push it down. So I'm rooting for Kyler, and I do think we are going to see more NFL teams take chances on guys that in the years past they would have just been crossed off the draft board. Doesn't mean it'll work, but I think he'll get a shot.
So tonight, the NBA will televise their All-Star draft. The captains are Giannis and LeBron. LeBron will draft first. Nick, who should the king pick?
Well, so he can only pick amongst the starters. So, for example, for your first pick, so he can't pick Anthony Davis because Anthony Davis is not a starter. I think you should pick Kyrie Irving. Kyrie reached across the aisle and they reconciled. Kyrie told everyone about it. LeBron can pay that back by making him the first pick of the All-Star draft. What up?
Man, Kyrie don't want to go play with LeBron, man.
Maybe that would tonight. I mean, maybe for the go.
No. He called because he was struggling with his young guys and say, you know something? That was far more difficult. Man, select KD, man. Don't be listening to Blog Boy. Don't be listening to Fanboy. Man, select KD, man.
But see,
the second best player in the world.
KD says playing with LeBron is toxic.
Oh yeah, that's going to make your weekend in Charlotte
ruin
toxic.
His All-Star weekend.
That's going to get people to stop asking you questions about your free agency, knucklehead.
Hey, last night Giannis dropped 43 and went 17 for 21 from the field, and James Harden scored 36 for the Rockets. It was his 28th straight game with at least 30 points. These two have been neck and neck in the MVP race all season, but James Harden is the betting favorite. Nick, can Giannis overtake Harden for MVP?
It's absolutely on the board. Right now, to me, it's a two-person race with respect to Paul George, who's having an outstanding season. These two have separated themselves, and really Harden, for what we thought was an amazing 15-game stretch, it's now on a 28-game stretch. That's more than a third of the season. He has separated himself from Giannis. But there are some benchmarks Giannis can get to that, I mean, he's averaging 12.5 rebounds. If he gets 27, which is where he's at, 13 and 6, which is right around where he is, and the team gets 62 wins, gets in the low 60s, then people are going to start looking at it, and I think people will be biased towards Giannis, not only because Harden, but Giannis plays maybe the single most aesthetically pleasing style of basketball in the NBA, while Harden is on the other end of the spectrum.
Well, Giannis, if you like traveling, if you got to take 8 steps and everything, aesthetically, if that's pleasing to your eyes, then I could see why that would swing you. I believe that the wins is the most important thing. I believe that's the only way that Giannis is going to be able to top Harden. Because what we've seen from Harden, we have never seen before. And if he's able to continue that for over the next 2 months, he is the MVP. Giannis, what he's got to do is they got to have the best record. All right, right now at 40 and 13, if they can finish with the best record, that's something that's always been a part of who the MVP is. Well, who's the best player on the best team? And for them to have the best record in the NBA, because that was not expected, we expected Giannis to grow his game. But that part right there, I believe that's the only way he's going to be able to rival what Harden has done on the court.
And I totally agree, by the way. If this streak continues through the rest of the season or continues with 1 game missing, then Harden's going to win the MVP. I believe at some point, I mean, he's averaged 42 a night since December 13th. At some point, I think he's going to come down to
And if there is a sentimental favorite, you lean towards Giannis, I think it should be to Harden because he's been robbed of a couple other MVPs.
Yeah.
So, like, if he's playing to this level, you really need to knock him off that crown. So, for me, it's Harden.
Let me ask you real quick, C. Do you think the Rockets, you talked about if the Bucks have the best record, historically, you need 50 wins to win MVP, except for the Russell Westbrook year. Do you think the Rockets, they would have to go, I think, 18 and 10 the rest of the way to get there? Do you think they have to get to 50 games, or after what Russ did, winning it on non-50 win team, that is no longer a prerequisite?
Well, I think he's in that class of Russ because what he's doing, we've never been able to see that before, and I think it will hold up on its own. But it's different when you're going against a team in Milwaukee and Giannis that was not expected. I mean, that was not expected. They don't have the best talent in the league, so you'd have to recognize his ability to raise his club to being the best in the NBA.
All right, let's move on to Kevin Durant now, and the latest reason that he's fired up at the media. Apparently, it's not just about his impending free agency. The Athletic is reporting that Durant thought he'd be seen as a better player than LeBron after winning the 2017 finals. And that hasn't been the case. And that doesn't sit well with Kevin Durant. So, Nick, what do you think has to happen for KD to be considered better than LeBron James?
We're talking in the here and now, like the best player in the league, not like all-time rankings. So in the here and now, it's on the board for a bunch of guys, and Kevin Durant's one of them, to at the end of the year for the general consensus be, you know what? They've overtaken LeBron. It was on the board a few years ago for Steph Curry to do it. And then the NBA Finals happened. And last year, with the Cavs struggling the way they did, if the Cavs had lost in the first round to the Pacers like they almost did, I think that conversation would have really started. The reason that LeBron's been able to hold guys off, and Kevin Durant in particular, is because the playoffs, every year, LeBron raises his game to a level a couple grades above everyone else. And Kevin Durant, while he won Finals MVP, during the NBA playoffs, when they were falling down 3-2 to the Rockets, remember, he didn't take the one game-winning shot. He had another chance again, didn't take it there. Even up to the game one of the finals on the JR play, he got pushed out of the way. JR gets the rebound. Like, his play was more hot and cold until the final 3 games of those finals. So what would he have to do? If the playoffs, that is obviously a huge help to him. But even if they make the playoffs, they have an early exit. If he is spectacular, start to finish in the postseason, and they win a championship, and LeBron's not playing the final 6 weeks of the year, which hasn't happened in nine years,
right,
that to me is what would have to happen for the consensus to change in his direction.
Well, I think the conversation started when LeBron got hurt. And that conversation created more intensity, or the conversation got more intense the longer that injury went on. And LeBron being back now, when I saw Steph Curry come back, Steph Curry came back healthy. LeBron James is still not 100%. And typically in the NBA, guys don't come back till they're 100. He is not 100% in those 2 outings that we've been able to see him. So in watching the NBA, right now, if you're being honest, LeBron James is not the best player, all right, because he's not 100%. But based on last year's NBA Finals and what happens to this year's NBA Finals, because I believe it's going to be on the board, Giannis, Harden, and whoever, Steph Curry and or Durant. All those players we should be conversating with who is the best player in the NBA right now. Not 18, not 17, right now. And I believe that conversation will be open for a real discussion for the first time. Kevin Durant's biggest problem was when he left OKC, he put himself on the Warriors. So trying to evaluate the best player in the world, because you can't compare their stats. What they do on the court, having Steph, having Clay, and KD, like, there's no comparison to what LeBron was doing. So it was crystal clear that it was still LeBron, even with the finals, how LeBron played in that lopsided matchup and how he fared against them.
And the other thing that hurts Kevin Durant is, and I don't think this is haters, I don't think this is media critics, there's a real conversation about, is KD better than Steph? There's a real conversation about, is KD the best player? Is he the second best player in the world or the second best player on his own team? I think this year, Steph has played at a higher level. Now, KD obviously has been the better player in the NBA Finals, and there's a lot of machinations there. But that's the other part of it, is LeBron, there's never been a question who the best player on his team is. That's one of the other things KD forfeited for the chance to go win these rings, and Steph did as well. Steph was knocking on the corner of best player. He'd won 2 straight MVPs. They'd been to 2 straight finals of best player in the world. When those two came together, it's so hard to separate them and figure out how much easier is one guy's job, who's the guy, like all those things make it a more difficult conversation for them.
What if Kevin Durant comes to New York and he wins here? How much does that boost his legacy?
That's what it is. We're going to measure on this season, and then from the finals on, next year it's going to be wide open. AD's going to be somewhere else. Kyrie potentially could be somewhere else. LeBron's trying to get him some help.
Harden could have a second straight MVP.
Kawhi's going to be somewhere else. So next year it will be on the board who's the best player, and KD will be a part of that discussion. Him getting his own team, it does help. But it is not the ultimate measuring stick. When you have Steph Curry and you have Clay, you have Draymond, and then we add Boogie, how can we evaluate?
Right, and that is why it's so, like, it's so odd to me because that is what set Kevin Durant off yesterday. People have been speculating about the Knicks for the last, for really months, but certainly intensely since the Kristaps trade. The reason he came out yesterday and yelled at Ethan Strauss was because Ethan Strauss talked about how since 2017, KD has been frustrated that he's not considered the best player in the world because he miscalculated. He thought I'm better than LeBron, and maybe that's fine. Of course you should think that. The only reason people don't give me credit for that is because I don't have a ring. So let me go win multiple rings in Golden State, then no one could deny it. What he misunderstood was if he had done that, if we had seen that image the next year in an OKC uniform, people would say he's the best player in the world. It's because he did it on a team that had already won. It's because he had done it with Steph. Now, Steph doesn't seem to care about this stuff.
Yeah.
Steph, to his credit, welcomed him in, didn't care he wasn't going to win any more MVPs, doesn't care about the rankings. This seems to really eat at Durant. He's going to have to go elsewhere. You go and win a title in New York City? How about if Kevin Durant comes to New York City and wins a championship, I will say he's the best player in the world. I think it'd be pretty damn clear he is.
Just really quickly, who's the best player in the NBA today? Right today.
If I had one player, I'm taking KD.
Okay.
I am taking KD.
Nick?
Giannis and Harden are playing the best. LeBron's still the best player in the world. We're going to be reminded of that over the next few weeks.
Take a break. Coming up, how much trouble are the Lakers in if they don't
I told you I had a shot on when's we going to mention LeBron again?
for Anthony Davis? That's next on First Things
That was the
First.
whole topic.
LeBron ain't the best player today.
He's not playing the best. He's still the best player in the world. That's what you don't change it every week. You think Harden's playing the best? You didn't say Harden every.
What happens when someone sees or feels the presence